All right, peace, everybody. We are live. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Ber-Henda Williams, and I am the host of The Ber-Henda Williams Show and founder of Culture Shift Hers Unite. And I am here with our amazing guest and one of our sponsors, Shalece Daniels. And Shalece is more than just a six-figure certified business coach, speaker, and author. She is a living, breathing testimony of what she teaches her students. She is a world traveler, a lover of the good life, believes in rest for expansion. She is, of course, a proud graduate of the Chamber of Commerce Leadership Detroit program, and she has summited, y'all, Mount Kilimanjaro. Additionally, she has traveled all around the world and has helped several other businesses to skyrocket their sales, but also keep their sanity. And so, if you are looking for a guide, a steward, someone to help you not only grow yourself as a person and in business, but also in life, this is the coach for you. She has a spirit that is full of enthusiasm, love, tenacity, and community. So please, good humans, please welcome Shalece Daniels.
Thank you. Thank you, Ber-Henda. I am so happy to be here with you, a culture shifter in every sense of the word. And yeah, hey, everyone.
So, Shalece, it's my pleasure to have you here, but I want to center, sort of the anchor and pillar of your work, which is rest. And we live in a city, so wherever you're watching in the world, we are here in the Metro Detroit area. Detroit is known for hustle. I mean, it's right there in our slogan, Detroit hustles harder. And I think that there is something there that can be a bit dangerous when we talk about hustling. And when I say dangerous, I mean in the sense of what it does to our personhood, what it does to the way we show up to our families, and the work that you do. Business is not always synonymous with rest, restoration, moving in seasonality. So, if you could share with people how it is that you have come to not only become a multi six figure coach, but also very much a real estate maven, amongst other things. How are you able to live this multi potentialite life and yet do it without hustling?
Well, I obviously, as nobody's story starts where we are right now. I was, I think I may have told this story. I'm going to try to keep it short.
Mhm.
I had a child very young. I couldn't afford to buy the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. I went to the bookstore on Macamarang. It was called Barnes and Noble, I believe. And I read the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. I sat in the aisles. One day I got bored and I wandered into the self help aisle and I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And at that moment, I knew that I was a real estate investor. Now, it took a minute for the physical world to catch up with what I already knew inside, but I knew that I was a real estate investor. And that's how it happened for me. I decided.
You decided.
Yeah, I decided.
And I hear that so much, especially when we talk about people who are on a growth pathway, when we hear about those who are in business. And I love that you talked about professional development, self-help books. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is definitely up there in one of the recommended readings. Who Moved My Cheese?
Yeah.
Yep. uh, books of those of that nature. And there's a piece here that I think is really powerful that you said. You said you decided. Well, what was it that gave you the agency that you said that you were worthy of your choice?
Um, I didn't think that I was, and it still happened. So when you were taught, as you're like fumbling through making these decisions, the universe, spirit got your back. And you can be scared and still move one step in front of the other. but listen to that little voice that's inside of you. My brother called me. He wasn't a real estate investor and said, "Hey, I know this lady who's helping you invest. She gives you education. She teaches you how to be a renter and she gives you back this much money." I was like, "Huh? This doesn't make sense." And it was true. At the time I invested, the houses were overvalued, right? But immediately thereafter, my next three houses, I had my first five houses by the time I was 20, 19 and a half. The next three houses after those two that I got from her, I learned and I got on my own through cash and then fixing them up little by little. I mean, it didn't just happen where I did something and overnight I was a success. It took a lot of learning. But at that moment that I decided, I suppose what happened is I said, I'm going to figure it out. And I never lost sight of figuring it out between having a job, between taking care of an infant and going to school and getting my degree during that time. I never lost sight. And so by the time I was 20, I had those five houses.
Mm.
I think and now I'm like, did I answer your question?
You did. You did it afraid. And I think this is a piece for anyone who's on a growth pathway, who is endeavoring in a dream or a passion. And I would even say calling is that you're not quote unquote going to have it together. It's okay to do it afraid. And my personal favorite, it's okay to start over.
So, Ber-Henda, not only not only did I divorce in 2009, so I started over. Well, I wasn't married at the time that I had got the house, so I'll make that very clear. But then I also went through a marriage and I went through a divorce. And then I got a little bit out, I lost everything. And I got a little bit after I started over. And then I got a little bit more, right?
Mhm.
Started over, went to a corporate job, quit that job, started over, became a business coach, which is what I do now. In a way, started over. But every time I started over, like I didn't like go down here and start over. I kind of
Mhm.
took that knowledge with me that I had from that venture or that relationship or that job. And I
Mm.
when I started over, I like started with that knowledge, that transferable knowledge and skills.
That's right. That's right. Everything feeds one thing feeds the next. Everything is like a trans what do they say on the transferable skills?
You got it.
You're
On the resume,
on
right?
the resume, right. You
True.
know, there are certain skills that you can take and you can transfer them. And I remember, being a teacher and being a teacher, you have to learn a lot of skills. And I have this running joke that actually teaching is what made me really good at sales. I mean, honestly, I had to sell students on this
Ooh,
premise idea that your grades matter, that putting your best foot forward like that matters. And it wasn't necessarily monetary, but there was an attachment, a future dividend. And so I would explain to them, this is why you make the investment, and that you're not getting doing anything for me. This is for you.
yeah,
And so having these sales calls with students,
that's hilarious.
right? Or because in many of the schools that I taught in, they were Title I schools, so we didn't have budgets for salsa night. So we had to fundraise for salsa night, and so I actually got the kids to raise money for their salsa night. We would raise our money, because on a teacher's budget, like. mm, you know, it could be very thin. And so how are we going to have this? How are we going to have this salsa night with no budget? Well, we create a budget. We set a budget. Let me figure out how much it's going to cost for a DJ. How much is food going to cost? So as a community, we're going to raise this money together
Yeah, that's
so
hilarious.
that we can have this salsa night. And so shout out to Rob Villanueva. He came in and spun records for us for our salsa night. And it was a beautiful thing. They had traditional, like, Dominican music, so we bachata and all that good stuff. So I love what you're saying and reminding us to uh, look at where we are, but that's not necessarily ground zero.
It's not. I think about you talking about selling to people who I don't want to buy your stuff and it's boring and I can't see how this is going to help me in the future. And my synapse glands are my synapse, my frontal lobe is not even closed. So this doesn't mean anything to me, right? So that is awesome, but also teaching them the transferable skills of raising money because that's a transferable skill, honey.
Yes, it is.
I what do I say about my journey? Like everywhere, everything that I've done, no matter how minuscule, how small it was, has led me to this point. And I talk about how my daughter saved my life, how I don't know what I would be doing. I remember being a I remember being a rebellious teenager and doing all the things that I had no business doing. Like if I were my friend's parent, I would not have wanted her to hang out with me. Okay.
Okay.
And and even those things bringing me to be the type of person that I am today and to make the decisions that I make. And just for one example, having the compassion for that little girl that shows up like me, knowing that that little girl is not always going to be that little girl. That little girl could be this little girl or that, that woman or that Oprah, knowing that. So where was I going with that story? I'm
Listen,
not sure. I'm not sure, but everything that happens in my life or has happened, and recently I've reflected on a lot of the things have brought me to this point.
yeah. And then speaking of, arriving at a point, you have sown a seed, not only into the culture shifters ecosystem. And I really want people to understand that, when it comes to sponsorship, the types of sponsors that we have, like yourself, you poured into my spirit that this is sisterhood. This isn't just a transaction. This is, I got your back, girl.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
okay. And I see you and I see your mission. And here's a resource that I have, to help you with the mission so that in turn, you can pay it forward and continue to do the work that you do. So if you could just center for people, the impact that, um, from an economic standpoint, on what we can do for one another as women, but in particular as Black women. What does that mean to be able to sow a seed? And why is it, so important to you to sow a seed into a sister's business?
One of my friends ran for judge. She won. And I told her that I hate the political system and all the things, right? And it's so convoluted and just all the things, right? The reasons why you would hate the system, especially at a time like this. And I told her, but I'm going to support you. I'm going to knock on, not only am I going to give you money, I'm going to knock on doors. And that's the highest of support. I believe that that Black woman judge will see my son if he needs to be adjudicated or, brought up before her differently than someone outside of our community would see him. I believe, Ber-Henda, the work that you're doing, the work that Black women do, even in non-traditional Black woman roles, so to speak. Oh, I don't want to sound like him, but in put in places where we have to bring out masculinity just to match that role or things that we're going to do, I still want that Black woman who has some shared experiences with me in that room. And so, your media company that you have, I want my kids' narrative shaped by women, Black women that have their best interests at heart. That is why I believe creating a community, especially media outlets, that change narratives. And I don't know if people realize how powerful media really is, but to have someone shaping a narrative that is healthy and something that I much rather see, um, if I can, and in any way, if that means knocking doors, I am going to support. that endeavor. That is why that is extremely important to me. We not we who I think was it you and I yesterday? We gotta save ourselves. Ain't nobody coming to save us.
Yes.
We gotta do it ourselves. And that is a part of why capital, another conversation we've had some other time, is extremely important. If you don't
Mhm.
have capital, how do you elevate or amplify the voices that are important to you, your story, and your message? So it is your duty, it is our responsibility to raise, have, to use our talents and gifts to get that capital so we can support our friends, right?
Absolutely. And of course, it's my honor and privilege to support you in any capacity that I can. And I hope that those of you who are listening to this conversation, whether you're catching it live or on the replay, think about where you know change needs to occur. And think about your time, your talent, your treasure. As you heard Shalece support her friend who's running for judge, win her seat as a judge because of the time, the talent, and the treasure that went into securing her seat, not just as a position, but as a place of empathy. That when a black boy comes before her in a court, that there is an element of fairness that will exist that otherwise would not. And so, if we think about things on that very personal level, what if this were my son, my daughter, my loved one, my elder? You know, I'm a caregiver, right? So, how would I want my dad to be treated? And thinking about ways that we can then, of course, aggregate our resources so that we can support one another. So, from the bottom of my heart, Shalise, I want to say thank you so much for believing in me, believing in this mission. If you want to be part of this mission, you can go to my website, berhendawilliams.com, and click on sponsorship and look at a level, an entry that feels right for you. We also have segment sponsorships available. Those start at 300. And so, you know, if you're part of a fraternity, sorority, a book club, a choir, anything mission driven as a collective, I believe that this is definitely something that you would be interested in, because what we are looking to do is give flowers to those beacons in our community. So, tomorrow evening is the launch of the Ber-Henda Williams Show, and we are giving two former educators and one has turned nonprofit leader, so Crescendo. So shout out to Damian Crutcher and Crescendo, which is a organization that provides orchestral and jazz uh, music lessons to Black students.
Wow.
Yes,
That's
particularly
amazing.
in the city of
Okay.
Detroit. Yes, and if you have been in band, you know
Yeah.
clarinets and trumpets are not cheap. Those are not cheap instruments, right? And so, by the sweat of his brow, he started this amazing organization. And shout out to Andrea Hamler, who was a special education teacher, and currently Wanda Olubala, who is a social worker. So these are the people in our communities that deserve, more than deserve, their flowers, and they'll be getting their flowers tomorrow night, because I think, again, it's so important that we recognize people. It's not about the fancy gifts, but just even saying thank you. I see you. You matter. The work that you do, it matters. These are the people that sow seeds of love and encouragement and what's possible for you. You know, so you help to, you know, fund that and to support that. And then we have a Black woman event coordinator and creative director that we buy flowers for. So even our vendors, Black women, you know, we believe, so it pays itself forward socially. It's like you have essentially helped to, it didn't just bounce once, like this ripples out, you know, to and anyone who is listening, it creates again an economy where we are very decisive about the vendors that we choose and the people that we're in community with. And we got to walk it like we talk it,
That's
and
it.
it has to be congruent. We
Walk
have
it like we talk it.
exactly. We have to be in alignment. So, Shalise, I again want to thank you for your not just the investment, but for your heart, for your willingness to support um your work that you do in the world and all the clients that you serve. And I mean, I don't want us to gloss over Mount Kilimanjaro. So as we close, if you could tell us, because I know you've shared it online, but if you could give a brief you know, inspiration of what inspires you to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, and then two, what were the mental and physical aspects of preparation to do that level of scaling?
So this there was a lady, a black lady that I sat next to at a conference in Toronto, and she loved to travel and I love to travel, and we just happened to right, just happened, nothing just happens to sit next to each other. And she was showing me all of her travels, and she's like, I was here and I was doing this and I was doing that. And she was like, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm like, why would you do that? Mount Kilimanjaro? Who climbs Mount Kilimanjaro? And then she talks about her experience more and more and more. I'm thinking, dang, that's badass. I don't know if I can say that, bleep it out if I can't.
No, it's here.
Okay.
We're live, so it's good.
All
All good.
right. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. Dr. Ramirez was her name. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And
Come
the
on,
seed
Dr.
was
Maris.
planted then. And so I said, well, maybe it's something that I could do. And I started researching. I called a few friends. I did it. That was the inspiration behind doing it, but I got so much more. To do this
Mm,
bad ass thing, but I got so much more. So much, so much, so just yeah,
you
yeah.
do have so much more, and I just want to affirm that you have so much more. You have so much life ahead of you, and I don't say that just as a blow of smoke up your yeah, you've got so much. No, it's true because there are teachers and healers who are put here for such a time as this, guides. And these particular individuals are here on the planet at this time to help awaken, because so many of us have been indoctrinated in this sick society as to what we can be, do, and have. And maybe it's based on our race, our orientation, our social economic, that good life, a good life is only for those who belong to a particular class or, again, race, orientation, what have you. But I believe that you have come as a disruptor to help people connect back to their source and help people to connect back to their spirits, because there's a longing that I know exists on every human being, that yearns, and that yearning means that something on the equivalent is yearning for you too. So it was like what you were looking for is seeking you. We just have to become good stewards and safe dwellings.
Mm, for the thing to find you, to present itself in the physical form, because like you said, if you want it, it wants you too.
You too. It wants
We
you.
just have to be on and be in that vibrational space. We got to vibrate higher. Yeah, yeah, you're right, Ber-Henda.
Mhm.
Um, one of the things that I learned on that mountain, uh, I felt a lot of gratitude for all the people that surrounded me that helped me climb the mountain. And I think that's the thing that we miss. When I tell people that I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, they think like I did this great thing. And I'm not saying that I didn't, but those I would never have been able to do anything without the porters carrying my big bag. See, we don't talk about the 40-pound piece of suitcase duffel bag that you have that you've paid somebody else to carry on their back, literally, or the food that is cooked for you that you never have to touch a piece of food. So y'all think I'm like on Mount Kilimanjaro cooking, rubbing rocks together, sticks and rocks, creating fire. No, I get almost a gourmet meal and have tea time with popcorn on the mountain because these people care enough about me to take care of me so I can summit. That's, I think, the gratitude is what I brought, is what I got that I wasn't expecting.
Mm. Come on, Summit.
Yep.
Yeah.
All the people that lift you up.
And I think that's a great analogy that we can, though it was actual for you, that we can apply in our day to day. No one gets anywhere alone. And again, I cannot say thank you enough for your support, Shalece, because I'm one person, but this does not happen alone. I mean, I look at, our volunteers. One is a former colleague. We were, she taught, she teaches English at Henry Ford Academy,
Mhm.
and we met there, I believe, almost like 20 years ago.
Wow.
And some of our volunteers worked with me when I had a girls' leadership organization, the Power of Girlhood.
Mhm.
Right? We have our associate uh, producer who I met doing work with the city of Southfield, and our father daughter duo as our camera operators that are helping to actually film. I met at the Michigan Roundtable for Just Communities doing youth work as a youth storyteller and poet and met them. So I have this belief that nothing happens by accident and no relationship is transactional. It really takes a community. And these are people that I love and that love me too. So I know that this movement is found, the foundation is right. And so you, Shalece, are just such an integral part of,
Oh,
making a dream come true.
thank you, Ber-Henda.
No, thank you.
You are definitely a part of my village, my heart, my soul circle. Okay, I think you know that very well. But
Mhm.
life is much better with you. Life is much better.
I say the same. I say the same thing. So, um, I again thank you all for tuning in. So again, if you're catching this on the replay, if you're catching this live, know that whatever it is that you're endeavoring in, the support is just an ask away,
It is
and it truly is. It's
a
only an
rushed ask.
okay.
Huh? What you
Uh,
need? Okay, so wait, how do I do this? Where-
Exactly. And what you are looking for is looking for you. And don't be afraid to start over. But just have the audacity to say yes.
yeah,
Just have the audacity to say yes.
that's
And that's it. And that's it. And that's all. So
it.
thank you again for joining me. It has been a pleasure. And for the rest of you, please make sure that you head over to BrendaWilliams.com. You can find me on YouTube. This is where the show will be available, but head over to BrendaWilliams.com, sign up for my newsletter. And there you will find all the information and details and always be up to the minute of what's going on inside the Culture Shifters universe. So, Shalece, thank you so much, my friend,
Thank you.
for supporting the vision.
Absolutely. Bye,
All right,
everyone.
everyone.